Welcome to Kingdom News Network, the video news magazine of the International Churches of Christ. I'm Anthony Galang. We welcome back a sister we are always thrilled to have as a co-host for KNN. She was the anchor woman of the Spanish version of KNN for 2 years. She is the leader of the women's ministry around the world, Elena Garcia-McKean.
It's an honor to be with you, Anthony, and it's an honor to be on the English KNN. Kip and I are amazed when we see what God is doing in His church. KNN is now seen by disciples in over 140 countries in 15 languages.
Elena, congratulations on the Women's Day in Los Angeles. Over 11,000 attended and over 300 women were baptized the following month.
Thank you, Anthony. God answered so many prayers and has worked so powerfully through the team leadership of Chris Fuquay, Robin Williams, and Megan Blackwell. We are excited about the lives and families that have been eternally changed as scores of women are becoming true disciples. I want to commend the sisters around the world for their faith and hard work in the women's ministry.
We have some incredible news in this edition of KNN. Radical evangelism in Africa, animated disciples from LA, and a touching update from Cambodia. Let's begin with our feature story.
How excited I was 4 years ago when Kip shared with me his final draft of the Evangelization Proclamation. It felt incredible when the world sector leaders signed our commitment to plant a church by the year 2000 in every nation with a city of at least 100,000. Our dear friends, Steve and Lisa Johnson, accepted one of the biggest challenges because the ACES world sector is responsible for evangelizing most of the huge continent of Africa. God gave them Mike and Ann Brigitte Tolliver to lead the African work. Sub-Saharan Africa has 650 million people in 48 countries who speak more than 1,000 different languages. The average income for most of Africa is only $500 per year. At any given time, there can be 10 to 15 wars going on somewhere on that continent. This is just the kind of setting where God loves to work. Light shines in the darkest places. KNN recently taped a conversation between Mike Tolliver and the leaders of the pillar churches in Africa.
Boston had sent the team in 1986 to go to South Africa and to begin the African work in Johannesburg. And it's so exciting, because what they did was they began in '86 with a multiracial team going into a country that was super segregated. Apartheid was very much a part of the country, but apartheid fell, legally later, but the country came on in and began worshiping black and white together. And it blew people away to see it. Just like in the 60s and before in America, when blacks and whites were worshiping in separate churches, that's exactly the way it was in South Africa, and basically still is today.
That's right.
But this church was begun with the Spirit of God, and everybody was together, and it was amazing. One guy came in, he said, well, I'll study the Bible, but I'm not going to worship with white people. Well, he started studying the Bible, and now he's the evangelist in charge of Soweto. That's Nelson Letswende. Another guy come in, he said, well, I'll read the Bible maybe, but I'm not going to worship with black people. He ended up on the board of trustees.
That's right.
So he repented.
That's right.
And ended up on the board. And I tell you, just to see the way people changed. One guy was standing there. It was so funny, but he had never touched a black person in his entire life. Came to the service, and of course, one good brother from Soweto had no idea who this guy was or what his attitudes were, and at one break in the service, he goes, hey, how you doing? Gave him a big hug like that. The guy was like, wow. I didn't expect that kind of fellowship today. Went on to be baptized.
Amen.
Now, today, he's living with blacks and whites in a big house, just doing great in the ministry. It's amazing how God broke down all the walls of prejudice in Johannesburg, and the church got off to such a great start.
I remember one time, we were preaching during lunch break, and this witch doctor came, and he was doing his magic. It's incredible. He will pour like kerosene in his mouth and light his, put a match on, and he will blow fire like, I would say about 10 feet. People were gathering and just watching this guy. And I thought myself, this witch doctor has brought a huge crowd for us to preach. I wanted to preach, but the crowd didn't want me to preach. The crowd wanted the witch doctor to do his magic. And it was It was a very intense time. And before you know it, all the policemen around has taken off. Because they figured, they are afraid of the witchcraft too. They figured if this guy gets killed by this witch doctor, you know, they don't want to be witnesses to that. Now I remember, the guy blowing his smoke to my face. He got this close the first time. The next time he got this close. Now I was thinking maybe I'm putting the Lord my God to the test. But I said, no, I'm going to stay. I was shaking, but I thought, what if the whole faith of this church depends on me standing firm, you know, against this witchcraft. And people were encouraging the guy, come on, man, set the guy on fire. The third time, the guy just stopped. He didn't do anything. He packed all his stuff, walked away. And of course, I started to preach. It was incredible. Now, that was on a Friday. On Sunday, I had a visit to our church.
Come on.
This same witch doctor came to church.
Amen.
Now, he didn't get baptized on our bed. It was awesome to see the guy just telling me that he will not practice his black magic again.
That's right.
And I was pretty fired up.
That's
that
awesome.
day.
That's awesome.
First chance Mike gave us, said, okay, we're going to go out and meet 10 evangelists a day. And we go out there and looking for sharp people, and he looks like an evangelist. No, he looks like an evangelist, you know, and it was awesome. And we had incredible Bible talks, incredible growth. Early on, I remember when we had a Bible talk, we had like 109 visitors, like in the first couple of months. I didn't even know how to lead a Bible talk. Mike had to show me how to lead a Bible talk. And so we lead this Bible talk, 109 visitors, people raising their hands left and right and everything. And afterwards, I said, Mike, man, how do you lead a Bible talk of 109? He says, you don't. You split up. And so from then on, we started having different Bible talks all over the city at different times of the week and having 30, 40 visitors each Bible talk. It was awesome. But anyway, that first year, just the 15 of us, we had over 180 baptisms.
Awesome.
And that was just an incredible start. We had some good times in Abidjan.
Mike started talking about how we just needed to get out there, just like in first century Palestine, and just street preach. And I was scared to death. You know, I'd get out there, Mike goes, you know, you go first. And we'd get out there with my Bible on the Aga Khan walkway, and people would kind of slow down and just keep on walking. And, you know, preach my guts out for about 10 minutes, and nobody stopped. And then Mike would get up there, and within 5 minutes,
That's right.
you know, there's a crowd of over 100. I'm like, what is he doing? How is he doing this? Within a few weeks, you know, all of us, myself, Nietzsche, and all the other brothers started imitating what Mike was doing, and people were stopping.
Yeah.
And it was so exciting to be able to preach God's words right there on the sidewalk and invite people, you know, to come and study the Bible. And we'd take them over into Swiss Cake, the cafe. We rented the whole top, and we'd just sit down and study the Bible with people all day long. And so many people were baptized. It was truly amazing.
1991 in Nairobi was amazing. We started the year with 75 people, and we baptized 535 people that year.
That's right.
The street preaching was incredible. I think Jim Brown probably had the largest crowd that day. That woman came up screaming. 600 people listened to him preach that day. When Kip gave the challenge for us to plant churches in every nation with a city of 100,000 or more, I can't think of anywhere where the challenge fell more heavily than in Africa. There are 46 nations with a city of 100,000 or more that need churches. 2 years ago, we were only in 11 of those nations. God has worked in a powerful way as 26 new nations were planted in the last 24 months. So now we're in 37 countries in Africa and only 9 more to go. We are very excited about the progress that God has made, and we're looking forward to Christians being in every nation in Africa.
Kip McKean recently called together the men world sector leaders, world sector administrators, and geographic sector leaders to Los Angeles. The session was called the Emergency World Missions Leadership Meeting. Kip met with the leaders because the growth in our churches worldwide for 1997 had slowed considerably. Kip began the meeting by taking full responsibility for the lack of growth in the kingdom and challenging all of us to draw closer to God. I was personally challenged by his humility and zeal. One of the things that convicted me the most was the recent victory of the African churches. With 9,000 disciples, they saw 900 people baptized just in the month of January. When Mike Tolliver and Onichi were asked the secret of their huge successes, they simply said the disciples were devoted to prayer.
On New Year's Eve, the 2,500 disciples of the Lagos Church gathered at a soccer field with 2,000 friends and prayed in the new year. For the month of January, each disciple was challenged to pray an hour a day. The Lagos Church set a goal of 200 baptisms for January. By the middle of the month, God had surpassed their goal. They continued to pray and share their faith, and by the end of January, 340 people had been baptized into Christ.
This incredible fruit was born in a city where the leaders of the church just received their telephone service after a 4-year wait. Over the last 4 years, while Mike Tolliver has been leading the tremendous growth in the African work, he was battling 2 cancerous tumors. We are grateful that God has cured him. I'm convicted by the faith and prayer of our African brothers and sisters. Let's get on our knees and beg God to use each one of us in our own city.
Recently in the LA Church, several disciples in the entertainment industry taught an 8-week animation class to inspire preteens to glorify God through their talents. The spotlight is on these disciples in Hollywood.
Making the teaching of our Savior more attractive. That's what we're trying to do with these classes. We're trying to make the kids see the Bible come to life. Hi, I work for Warner Brother Feature Animation, and I'm a special effects animator. My past projects have included Space Jam, Quest for Camelot, Cats Don't Dance, and Swan Princess. We have the kids have their own little animal. Each one has their favorite animal, and go through the whole process of the animation industry.
Hi, I've worked for Disney for about 3.5 years. Some of the projects I've worked on have been 101 Dalmatians, the series, Star Shredders, and a pilot called Dogomite.
I thought the class was neat because all the teachers were disciples.
Jesus spoke in parables. If you don't know what a parable is, it's a story. It's what Jesus told to get his point across.
I work at Walt Disney Television Animation. I'm a background painter. I've worked on shows like Gargoyles, Timon and Pumbaa, Quack Pack. I'm teaching layout and background. It's all about the world that the cartoons live in. We have lots of descriptions of backgrounds from God in the Bible. Now, everybody's been working on a character, right? What kind of world would your character live in? Have you thought about that?
I'm a character designer. I just go in, read scripts, design characters. I've worked on shows. The Tick TV series is an animated cartoon, as well as Starship Troopers, which will soon be released.
In the art class, I learned about Goliath.
And what we're going to do is just start creating the characters, how his head looks, how tall is he.
How tall he is, like 6'2".
I work for the Walt Disney Consumer Products, where I'm a character artist there, and I work on Winnie the Pooh and all of his friends. What I enjoy about this class is I get the opportunity to sit down with the kids and expand their horizon.
I work for Walt Disney Feature Animation. I worked on Quasimodo for Hunchback of Notre Dame and on Zeus. What's exciting about this class is being able to enable other people to become artists and just pass on the torch, so to speak.
Well, well, what have we got here? No reason to be frightened, have no fear. Same reaction, same effect.
I was really honored when I was asked to be a part of this class because, you know, the Bible talks about to whom much is given, much is expected. And I know I have a lot of fun in doing different character voices, whether I'm doing a mean voice or I'm doing a big mean voice.
My favorite instructor was Marcus because he was funny.
You see how the S's sound like a snake sound? See? So you want to be very quiet too, because a snake doesn't want you to know what he's doing, does he?
Right now I'm working with some projects with LL Cool J and Brandy, and we've done some independent films. Tonight I'll be teaching the sound design class. Now, how many of you pay attention to the sounds that are on the cartoons?
I'm a freelance sculptor in the motion picture industry and for the entertainment theme parks. Currently I'm working on a hotel in Las Vegas, which is where this guy's from, and he'll be 12 feet tall by the time he's done. I love teaching this class because it just really teaches the kids to really have dreams and to really go after using their talents for God.
These talented people are not only giving our children vision, but they are living examples of disciples of Jesus. Several have baptized their co-workers in the entertainment capital of the world. Our first Mission Minute is a kingdom milestone. Discipleship Publications International is a ministry of the Boston Church that serves disciples around the world. KNN was on location to see DPI's 1 millionth volume roll off the presses.
999. That's the one.
And
1 million.
In a very, very special way, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart Tom and Sheila Jones, who have led DPI in a powerful way. They've been great dreamers for it, and I can only see greater and greater things happen for our movement because of them and what they're able to do for us.
When we first started in '93, there were only a handful of books that had been written by disciples in our movement. Now, with the publishing of the Leader's Resource Handbook, we have 75 titles in print from DPI, and we're excited to be here today where our 1 millionth volume has just recently rolled off the presses. We look around the world, we see that our books have been translated now into at least 15 languages, and there are more than 100,000 copies in print that have been printed outside the U.S. When we look at all that God has done, all we can say is, to God be the glory.
Books work as teachers, as we are reading in print what teachers and writers are saying to help us understand the Bible better. And ultimately what happens is we all become stronger disciples, and we're a lot better equipped to make other disciples.
One of the great joys of God's modern-day movement is our teen ministry. Phil and Chris Arsenault lead the teen ministry in the Boston Church. They have produced their 3rd edition of KTN, the Kingdom Teen Network, for their ministry. Take a look at one of their segments called Spiritual ER.
Okay, what seems to be the problem? Her heart, I don't know, it all of a sudden stopped. She lost faith. Her heart stopped. You need to save her. Can you save her? You have to save her. We're losing her. We need more help. Oh, we can do it, guys. We can do it.
So I studied the Bible. I did stop, and I started again, and I'd stop, and I started again. The 3rd time that I started studying the Bible, I decided that I wasn't going to let my insecurities stop me, and I went after it, and I was baptized November 24th, 1996.
We need to get it out. We need to get it out. Get the pride out. Get the pride out.
My mom was at the service the day Nate baptized me, and on that day she decided that she wanted to study the Bible. Things were going pretty good for a little while, and halfway through the study she stopped for about 3 months.
Oh man, we're losing her. Come on, guys.
Well, I hung on, and I prayed about it, and she came back and she studied again, and then I baptized her in May, '97.
Scalpel. Bible.
And when I first met Jen, she was this punk rocker wearing all black with chains and spikes all over her. And at first she was very insecure with herself, wondering what people thought of her and perceived of her. Now here she is, a disciple, doing great things for God.
Oh, I think she's coming back to us. Her heart's softening. But yep, she's coming back. We got her! Good work, doctors. Just another day in the spiritual emergency room.
KNN reported a year ago on the opening of King Sihanouk Hospital in Cambodia. Here's a moving update from Hope Worldwide.
For most of Cambodia's 10 million people, the last 30 years have brought continual hardship and suffering. The Vietnam conflict in the 60s, relentless civil war, the genocide of the Khmer Rouge, and military occupation have all left the Cambodian people desperate to re-establish their lives, their families, and their social infrastructure. Despite a rich heritage and unique Khmer culture, these years of devastation have left Cambodia's people the 4th poorest in the world. The medical needs are desperate. There is only one doctor for 9,500 people, compared to one per 2,000 in India or 400 in the US. The average life expectancy is 53. 1 in 5 children die before age 2. These grim statistics only begin to reveal the Cambodian people's need for help and for hope. The Sihanouk Hospital Center of Hope was established in December 1996. An inspired partnership of individuals and corporations built the hospital. Hope Worldwide manages and staffs the hospital with expatriates from 8 nations. The hospital's mission is to train Cambodian doctors, nurses, and medical staff while serving the country's poor and needy. Each day, about 350 patients begin arriving at the hospital as early as 4 in the morning. Desperate for medical treatment, many have traveled from distant provinces. Dr. Cameron Gifford, hospital director and practicing internist, talks about the serious condition of many of the patients.
Most of them do have more than one illness when they come. Many of the lung patients will have tuberculosis that can be complicated by pneumonia. Many people will have cirrhosis complicated with kidney failure. Many of the people will have malaria complicated by pneumonia. So you really have to look at many different organ systems and look at their laboratory and chest x-rays, EKGs, basically do a thorough, complete evaluation every time to make sure you're not missing anything that would be critical for them surviving. One thing we've found out, the doctors and nurses here have a great desire to learn, and they're very intelligent. They were just never given the opportunity to really do what they were capable of doing.
The goal of the surgical program at the hospital is to provide excellent surgical care to our patients, and in combination with that we can provide a very good training situation for Cambodian surgeons. The hospital has many patients, and we will have an opportunity to do a lot of surgery. At the same time, we'll take time to train up to 5 Cambodian surgeons.
Right now we're kind of working on a shoestring, but with added help, it'd really be outstanding. And this is definitely our hope and our dream, to continue to develop all of our programs to be more excellent in every way.
We should always be moved by the physical needs of people. As an evangelist, let me ask you, are you just as moved by the spiritual needs of those around you? Whether they appear to be or not, everyone is sick spiritually until Jesus, the great physician, heals them. May we never become callous to those physically poor and sick, but may we continually grow more compassionate to the lost. For Nation Countdown in this edition of K&N, we want to give you a perspective on the rapid growth of the kingdom. God has multiplied the church from an attendance of 70 in 1979 to a worldwide attendance of over 168,000 in February of 1998. He has multiplied the number of churches from 1 to 330, and He has spread the kingdom from one country to 140 countries around the world. Truly, we serve an amazing God. The early church went to all nations in one generation because of the sacrifice of each Christian. God's modern-day movement is growing faster than any other Christian movement since the first century because of the commitment of the disciples. Each of us needs to be grateful for those who have sacrificed so that we could be saved. As we are now sacrificing for our special contributions, let's remember that 31 countries are still waiting for a church to be planted by the end of the year 2000, just 31 months from now. There are millions of people in the world that we still need to reach.
We invite you to join us again when we bring you the best news you'll ever see. Anthony, it was great to be with you on K&N.
Elena, it's an honor to have you with us. Until next time, this is Anthony Galang.
And Elena Garcia McKean.
Signing off for K&N.